you for the birds thank you for the so sweet. Thank you for the food we eat.
If you watch the Netflix documentary American Murder, The Family Next Door, you were given a specific story. You saw all the footage, the Facebook Lives, the vacation videos. Bella and Celeste cheerful. A family that, from the outside, appeared happy, successful, and full of life.
My husband, who's very shy and very bashful and very, he's an introvert. My husband's very pleasing, so to speak. No questions asked. He took it. He did what I told him to do because, you know, he's like happy wife, happy life kind of thing. But he's glad he did because it's changed his life, but he's also watched it change mine. And that's been the biggest thing, you know, is changing each other's lives and making each other better.
Then came the affair.
Thank you so much for coming out here with me, Christopher. I am having a wonderful time. You mean a lot to me, and I'm glad that you're having a blast. I am so out of breath.
Nicole Kessinger. The text messages, the secret relationship, the police interrogation, and the moment Chris Watts finally confessed. Netflix framed the case as a love triangle that turned deadly. A man falls for another woman, wants a different life, and makes an unthinkable choice. That interpretation isn't wrong, but it is incomplete. Because one of the most important parts of this story received surprisingly little attention: the Watts family's finances, the bankruptcy filing, the financial records, the retirement account withdrawal, the lawsuit that was scheduled to reach a courtroom just 11 days after the murders. Income on one side of the ledger, obligations on the other. And when you examine those numbers, the story doesn't change. Chris Watts is still a murderer. Murder was still a choice. Nothing about the financial pressure excuses what happened, and nothing about the financial pressure diminishes the horror of what he did. But when the affair promised freedom and the finances promised collapse, those numbers became more than numbers. The affair gave him a dream. The debt gave him a deadline. And pressure has a way of revealing who someone really is. June 2015. Chris and Shanann walk into a Denver courtroom and file for Chapter 7 bankruptcy. They are drowning in $70,000 of debt, credit cards, medical bills, student loans. The paperwork requires full financial disclosure, and what those documents reveal is one of the most stunning gaps between image and reality you will ever read. 2 savings accounts, one containing $3.51, the other $6. Total liquid savings for a family with 2 children, a $400,000 home, and a luxury SUV in the driveway, $9.51. The mortgage on the house at 2825 Saratoga Trail was $2,996 per month. 85% of Chris Watts' entire take-home pay was gone the moment that mortgage payment cleared, before groceries, utilities, and gas, before a single bill was paid. That's not a budget. That's a trap with a front door and a manicured lawn. The bankruptcy judge granted them relief in August 2015. $70,000 in debt wiped clean, a genuine second chance. They stayed in the house. Shanann joined Level Thrive, a multi-level marketing company selling supplements and what they called a lifestyle experience. To sell the Thrive lifestyle, Shanann had to embody the Thrive lifestyle. You cannot recruit people into a vision of financial freedom while visibly struggling. The product she was selling was the image itself, which meant the image had to be maintained at all costs. Take the white Lexus SUV parked in the driveway. Level offered a car bonus, a monthly stipend, to cover a luxury vehicle lease for top performers. It looked like success. It was photographed beautifully. What the fine print said was this: the lease stayed in Shanann's name. If her sales numbers dropped in any single month, the bonus disappeared. She still owed the lease payment. The car that was supposed to represent her success could become a liability overnight. Every month was a sprint. Hit quota or face the payment yourself. The vacations worked the same way. 6 paid trips in 2 years. Lavelle covered the hotel.
Leaving for Puerto Vallarta in the morning. We take an Uber, I think about 4 o'clock in the morning to the airport. Everything's arranged. Chris and I are excited. Haven't packed yet, but you know, that's me. I wait till the last minute to pack. So we leave, I think we're gonna leave here about 3:30, 4 o'clock.
Participants paid their own airfare, their own meals outside the group itinerary, their own everything else. Those times, free times, vacations, routinely cost thousands of dollars in out-of-pocket expenses. And here's the psychology that makes this trap so effective. You cannot miss a trip. Missing a company trip signals weakness. Weakness costs you recruits. Lost recruits means lost income. Lost income means losing the car bonus. The system punishes you for resting. By 2018, the math had become impossible. Chris, approximately $3,500 take-home per month. Mortgage, $2,996. That leaves $504 for everything else in a family of 4, soon to be 5. Daycare for 2 children, $500 per week, $2,000 a month. That number alone exceeded what was left after the mortgage. They were relying entirely on Shanann's MLM income to cover basic living expenses, income that was variable, unpredictable, and dependent on a performance she had to sustain while pregnant. In 2018, Anadarko Petroleum, the same company where Chris worked, began constructing an oil and gas operation directly across the road from 2825 Saratoga Trail. Chris knew exactly what that meant. He worked in oil and gas. Industrial operations affect property values. The noise, the light pollution, the traffic, the environmental concerns. Nobody pays $400,000 for a house across the street from a drilling site. It meant their house was now worth significantly less than what they owed on it. They were underwater on the mortgage. Selling meant taking a loss they couldn't absorb, exposing the debt they'd spent 3 years hiding, and triggering a public financial reckoning. Then came the HOA lawsuit. Their homeowners association filed a claim against them for $1,533 in unpaid dues. The original HOA fee was $44 a month. They hadn't paid it in nearly 3 years. The court date was set for the 24th of August 2018. Shanann was unalived on August 13th. 11 days. The HOA lawsuit represented exposure. Court records are public. A judgment becomes a permanent record. His co-workers would find out. His mistress, who had no idea he was in financial trouble, who saw him as a man ready for a clean start, would find out that the guy with the big house couldn't pay a $1,500 bill. Chris had borrowed from his 401k to catch up on mortgage payments, his last financial lifeline. When you're raiding retirement funds to pay current month's bills, you're not managing a budget anymore. You're in financial survival mode. The affair gave him a reason to want out. The finances made the exit look impossible. And somewhere in that combination, in a mind that was either psychopathic enough to calculate murder or desperate enough to stop thinking clearly, his family stopped being people. They became the problem. Chris Watts wanted Nicole Kessinger and the fantasy of a simplified life. That desire existed. It was real. But millions of people have affairs and don't murder their families. What made this situation different was that the normal exits, separation, divorce, honest conversation all led to the same place. Public financial humiliation, legal consequences, and the certain loss of the new relationship he'd built his escape fantasy around. The affair gave him something to run toward. The debt made running impossible through normal means. And his psychology found a third option that no sane, mentally healthy person would have considered viable. There's a difference between knowing intellectually that consequences exist and facing them concretely all at once, with a court date 11 days away and a mistress who thought you were already free. The money wasn't the cause. Chris Watts is the cause. His choice is the cause. But the money was the pressure, and pressure reveals character. His character was monstrous. Chris Watts is currently held at Dodge Correctional Institution in Wisconsin. Maximum security protective custody, meaning even the prison population finds what he did unacceptable. The murder didn't solve the financial problem. It made it permanent. The house went into foreclosure. The bank sold it at auction. Whatever it brought went towards satisfying the debts he tried to escape. Shanann's parents filed a wrongful death lawsuit and received a $6 million judgment, symbolic because he'll never pay it, but legally ensuring he can never profit from this story. No book deals, no interviews for compensation, nothing. The Lexus was repossessed. The Facebook page documenting the perfect life is archived as evidence. The American dream they performed for 3 years cost 4 people their lives. Shanann Watts was 34 years old. She worked hard. She believed in what she was building. She deserved a partner who chose difficulty over destruction. She deserved to raise her daughters. She deserved to meet her son. Bella was 8. Celeste was 4. They deserved everything. Baby Nico never got the chance to want anything at all.